This session I titled Captain Cascade, and you're probably curious what that even means and what does it have to do with service fatigue? Well, Captain Cascade, simply put, means that the captain of the organization sets the tone that flows down through the ranks. I use the word cascade because the image that goes through my mind when I think about the impact of something flowing is the very first time that my husband Tom and I went to Hawaii. We chose to do a helicopter ride above Kauai. Oh, it was amazing. But as we came up over top of one of the mounds, there was this huge cascading waterfall. I have no idea how big it was. From the sky, it looked gigantic. And as it made its smooth descent, about a third of the way down, there were these major boulders sticking out from the side of the mound. And this, what was smooth flowing water, hit those boulders and splashed dramatically in every which direction. And that's what I think of when I think about Captain Cascade. See, you set the tone at the top, and the flow begins to go down. But the second that it hits a boulder, which could be any type of trouble, whether it's a team that's worn out and burnout, or whether it's a troubled employee, or maybe it's your own attitude. Owners, administrators, managers, presidents, chairman of the board, and CEOs, I'm looking at you right now. It's possible that someone sent you a link to this video because they wanted me to tell you something that you need to hear that maybe they don't have the words to tell you themselves. So that's what I'm here to do. Let's talk about Captain Cascade. And even if you don't have a title that says you're the leader, you might be someone who's the role model to everybody else in your place of work. And you may be a senior leader of some sort who isn't running the company, but people are looking to you to set the tone. The tone of your business is set by the level of your attitude, your empathy, your compassion, your accountability, your integrity, and trust that the members of the team have in you and in each other. In other words, all those words mean the tone of your organization is a reflection of you. Now, before you get all defensive on me and you roll your eyes and tell me that doesn't apply in your case, hear me out. Because if we were having coffee together and I asked you to describe the work environment you wish was present in your organization, but isn't right now, what would you say? I often hear things like, I wish the team had more passion. If only they'd show up in time. I often hear things like, I wish the team had the same passion as I do. If only they'd show up on time with a service attitude. I wish people would quit calling off work. If only everyone got along and was pleasant to each other. If only our creative ideas could be accepted by others. Are you willing to ask yourself some tough questions to determine if you are the boulder that impacts the way attitudes flow in your organization? Let me tell you about a time about 10 years ago. I was invited into a community bank for a possible staff development program. One of the vice presidents had seen me in an event and she thought I would be a good match. However, it was necessary for me to be interviewed by the president and the two other vice presidents before they could decide if I was the match for their big event. The person who greeted me at the front counter escorted me into a boardroom for the meeting. And when I got in there, lying on the table was a policy and procedure manual that was in a binder like this. It was sitting on the table, and on top of it was a rubber band laying like this. And it seemed odd. It looked like it had been put there for this meeting in preparation. Well, as we started to talk about the objectives of the day, I felt that the president had a little bit of pushback emotionally about gathering this entire team together to talk about changes they could make in attitude. Then all of a sudden, he spoke his mind. And what he said to me was, you know what? And he picked up a rubber band. He said, have you ever heard of the rubber band man syndrome? No, I had not. He said, well, here's what's going to happen. He said, you're going to come and do this staff development day, and you're going to stretch people's minds. And for a few days, maybe a few weeks, they're going to stay stretched. But then eventually, It'll go right back to the way it used to be. And it'll be like this. He threw it down on the binder. And he said, that's rubber band man syndrome. I don't know if this investment is worth it when people are going to go right back to the way they used to behave. Well, he caught me off guard with that because I'd been invited in for this meeting. I figured all the management people were going to be on board, but he was not. So I dug a little deeper. And I'd like to call this man Cash, the bank president. And I said, Cash, tell me what the staff is currently doing that does not meet your expectation. And he said, well, they don't arrive promptly. They don't have the community bank friendly attitude is completely absent. And their desire to wow the client and generate business, it just isn't there. Fair enough. So in preparation for the event, I asked to talk to several members of the team confidentially, meaning I could ask questions and they could trust that my report would not go back to him. They trusted me, and I discovered something important. Across the board, the team shared the following feedback, all worded in different ways, but it all came down to these facts. Cash doesn't come to the bank until mid-morning. He parks in the best slot near the staff door. He walks directly into his office, closes the door, and then summons people in for regular chew-outs. Their words, not mine. He doesn't attend staff social gatherings and rarely delivers annual evaluations on time or with supportive words. So following the interviews, I met with Cash and 3 of his vice presidents in order to make the final plans for the staff retreat. And I said to Cash, there are 3 things that I need you to agree to do and to follow through before I can agree to conduct the staff meeting. Well, that piqued his interest. And I said, on the day of the event, I need you to show up 20 minutes before the first person is expected to arrive. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. I'd been told that he rarely attended staff meetings before the first quarter of the event is over. So by just asking him to come early, I could already see the vice presidents kind of shifting their eyes, looking at each other like, uh-oh, what else is she going to ask him to do? Well, I didn't have anything to lose because I hadn't even been given the job yet. And so I said, the second thing is, I want you to stand by the door and greet everyone who comes by their first name if you know it. And because they're a big staff, if you don't know everybody's first name, just simply smiling, say good morning and welcome and glad to see you. Nice greetings. Can you do that? Yes, I can. And then I said, number 3, I need you to attend the entire event with the rest of the staff. I want you to sit at a table with another group, not at a leadership table, certainly not back in the corner. And please don't do threshold dancing. Some of you may know what I mean by that. It's a person who doesn't know if they're in or out of the room. And we see a lot of leaders at educational events that we do. They're in, they're out, they're in, they're out. And it gives the impression to everybody that what's happening outside the room or even outside the bank is more important than what's happening inside the room. And I said, you need to do all 3 of those things for me to agree to do the job. And he agreed. So on the day of the event, he delivered as promised. In the bathroom later, I heard one woman staff person tell her colleagues, wow, what's up with Cash today? He's like a totally different person. They were enthusiastic about his change in attitude, and it trickled down. It cascaded to everybody else. The day was a home run. Now, that was almost 10 years ago, and I have no idea what Cash's behavior is today. I don't even know if he's at the same bank. But let me tell you what I told him that day in the boardroom. After he agreed to the 3 things, and after he had told me the rubber band man story, this is the part I want you to hear today. I said to him, I want to go back to the rubber band man story that you were just telling. That is really interesting to me. And in this notebook, this is your policy and procedure manual, right? And he said, yes, I brought that for you to look at. I said, okay, let me ask you a question. If I take this rubber band and I stretch it across the binder like this, and now I lay this binder down in the middle of this board table, and I don't come back for a year, 2 years, 5 years, will this rubber band still be on the binder? He was waiting for the trick. He said, yeah, it will still be there. I said, exactly. See, when we take policies, procedures, and behavior expectations for everyone, from leaders all the way down to the most recent hire, and we wrap this rubber band around those policies and procedures, well, then it stays in place. It is when we stop doing them ourselves that the behavior trickles down. So in all due respect, sir, if this rubber band goes back to the way it used to be, I think it would be shame on you instead of shame on me. I'll provide the education, but it's up to your team to leave the rubber band taut. That story has stayed with me forever because what he saw as a fault of others was actually something that starts with him. So I promised you 3 tough questions. Here they come. Are you ready? All right. Question number 1. Am I a connected leader who helps the water fall smoothly? Or do I create these boulders with the things I do or don't do when it comes to managing others? Number 2, what are the biggest areas where I would like to see improvement in staff conduct? And is that a reflection of my own actions? And number 3, what does it take to be the mirror? Even if the reflection is the cause of someone who led before me, what does it take to adjust it? What I mean by that is maybe you know full well what everybody's doing right now is a carryover of some other leader, or maybe just the changing times, but you might have to take a very bold action to flip the attitude over and become a new mirror. Service fatigue begins when the team is having trouble pulling the load. If my time away from work is filled with challenges, it's hard to have the strength to shine at work. If the customer is lacking civility, it beats us down. If my teammates can't find enough energy in the tank to help shoulder the weight, it beats us down. And if leadership doesn't provide the safety net we need, it beats us down. Just like the crashing waves of water to the ground. The constant crashing may not make a noticeable impact in a few days, but I promise you it makes a huge dent when it's left to beat down day after day for an extended period of time. Now is the time for all of us to reevaluate the behaviors in the workplace that help to serve one another and which behaviors are the ones that add to the erosion of our organization. Captain Cascade, when leadership sets the tone that trickles down to achieve the company culture you yearn for.